Okay, we're going to be doing chapter 13 here, Phil Langdon's book, Revelations of the Holy Spirit, decoded by Phil Langdon. Um, Again, this is the channel is Discerning What is True on YouTube, and I actually share that video also on Facebook. The title of this particular chapter is Chapter 13, The Beast Out of the Sea and Land. Again, almost 99% of the people, if not more, believe in a literal interpretation of this book, which is not true, you see. And so Phil has gone through all this and has shared this important book because basically this relates to a lot what we call, in fact, chapter 1, I think it says basically deals with what we call prophecy, which kind of gets people's ears, to deal with prophecy, that is future events. And eschatology has been taught immensely by churches to do with the book of Revelations. It also has been part of it's also to do with what I would call Daniel, also illustrating what we call the many issues of what we call what of the Nebuchadnezzar's dream, you see, and Daniel gave him the answer, so to speak. But anyway, we're here at chapter 13, The Beast Out of the Sea and Land. Thank you for being here. And we're going to go ahead and start reading here. And again, let's get into the cards here. I meant to pull that card out, and I did not pull that card out. This is number 14 in the whole idea. So let's see if we can find that number 14 real quick here. This is 15, and this is 14. Is this right? No, I'm looking at 14. I meant to say 13. I'm sorry. So the card number 13 is revealing what we call death. So this is a synopsis of this. This is all tied in with these cards, okay? So the 13th card of the tarot is the death card. And partially because the light is the 13th product from the cosmic 12 and represents death for the reincarnation, but new life for the ascendant in its midst. The death card represents a new way of life after death of the old lesser ways and habits, such as losing one's childhood to adult life, or ascension from the physical world and even dying in old age. Yes, actually 13 is actually, I'm just fitting this out, but actually 13, 12 years old is considered like basically your last year of childhood. And then 13 comes in and becomes what we call in modern day deal, what we call teenager, which was not a book, but a word that was invented back in the 50s, I think it was, the word teenager. Still in the house, but now has a little bit more freedom, and it's basically has lost its childhood, so to speak, innocence, so to speak. So from gestation and birth, life and ascension to old age and death is a 3-stage cycle, commemorated by the 3 stations of the sun as being sunrise, high sun, and sunset. Metaphysics becomes aligned and complete by the process of life that sees the death of physical and mental struggles in the birth of divine angels, 3 from the feathers of the physical prison they were born into. The 13th Hebrew letter is Mem, M-E-M, which represents 40, that is the number 40, meaning water and Messiah. There are 2 forms of the Mem, that is the open Mem and the closed Mem. As the Talmud explains, the open Mem represents the revealed Torah, and the closed Mem represents the Torah's secret. Additionally, the Mem represents the womb, which enters with a closed Mem that represents the 9 months when the womb is closed. The open Mem represents the period of childbirth when the womb is open. What is the concept of 40? Well, 40 represents a metamorphosis, a transformation. After 40 days, the embryo of the child begins to assume a recognizable form. Metaphorically, water is the womb of creation. The Torah begins, quote, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." The next verse states that before God created the heavens and the earth, the Spirit of God hovered over the waters. What waters? Since the earth's waters had not yet been created. The waters mentioned here are the womb from which creation emerged, the place of gestation before the world came into existence. The zero-dimensional abyss, the place where the dead go, and our safety net between incarnations. So Revelation 13 here is showing, he's got things here of the dragon at the very top, and then he's showing here where the stars are revealed in overhead. And I'm assuming this is maybe, no, I'm wrong. This says the south, so this would be, I think, in the north, but he doesn't state this, so I may be wrong about this. So these are the star alignments here. This is the west, this is the east, and this is the overhead. So I would assume this is the north, and this being the south. Right. Sorry. Wasn't thinking about it that way. I was thinking the other way. Okay. I was thinking about southern part of the hemisphere that is here on Earth instead of looking at the sky. And the dragon, this is verse 1, and the dragon stood on the shore of the sea, and I saw a beast coming out of the sea. He had 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 crowns on his horns, and on each head a blasphemous name. In the stellar projection of the human psyche to the right of Taurus and Orion, the beast of the sea is Cetus, Cetus, the sea lion constellation, also called the leopard and the sea bear, who rises from the navel, Gematria center, and is given power at the psychic heart center, the lower mind, that is, the beast. In the stellar projection, we find that the Hydra, the constellation that represents the beast later in the drama, as the horizon in the east, as it watches Cetus rising from the western horizon. Continue. His 7 heads are the 7 profane sensual desires, the lower profanities of the higher divine desires. His 10 horns are 5 polarized, that is, dual intellectual faculties associating with the highest of physical nature, crowned with false pride in the power of the intellect alone, without intuition or philosophical reason. James M. Price explains, quote, "As the lower mind is a shadow of the reflected image, so to say, of the true mind, the nous, which is symbolized as the lion, the beast is pictured as a pseudo-lion, a hybrid, for it resembles the leopard, which was famed to be a cross between the lion, that is Leo, and the panther, being Pardus, Pardus. It is a slow growing, with the ponderous pawns of the bear, and has a mouth like a lion, thus simulating the voice of Nos." Verse 2, chapter 13. "The beast I saw resembled a leopard, but had feet like those of a bear, and a mouth like that of a lion. The dragon gave the beast his power and his throne and great authority." This is all revealed. This is not outside of us, folks. This is revealing what is part of us internally. This is psychology in a lot of ways, showing what's going on here, you see. One of the heads of the beast seemed to have had a fatal wound, but the fatal wound had been healed. According to James and Price, the head that has a fatal wound only to be healed is the desire for life on the plane of the senses, you see, a desire which the neophyte must utterly eradicate. To utterly eradicate any desire for physical existence is a puritanical view that also denies the condition of a returning angel, one who incarnates to show others how to become masters of themselves. If we give a fish for the person to eat, they can eat for a day. If we give them a fishing rod, they can feed themselves for life. Engaging in physical life is not sin when we know ourselves. The lower mind can only perceive the futility of life when it transcends and extrapolated, leading to poor personal choice and self-destruction tendencies due to the lack of higher-minded, that is, philosophical vision, inherently rejected as unknowable, but easily understood as the difference between walking while looking at the floor compared with looking up towards the horizon that goes on and on. When the Zen master says we'll see, he means all things change and develop continuously if they are manifest. Verse it goes on to here, it says, the whole world was astonished and followed the beast. So that's part of the continues of verse 3. Verse 4, men worshiped the dragon because he had given authority to the beast, and they also worshiped the beast and asked, who is like the beast? Who can make war against him? The beast was given a mouth to utter proud words and blasphemings, and to exercise his authority for 42 months. Again, 3.5 years. Exercising his authority for 42 months is the same as 1,260 days as 3.5 years. The first half of standard initiation training, isolating the value of 42 equals 3.5 times 12, meaning medical physics, 3.5 times physics, being 12. That is month/moon/thought is 30 days. 30 is L, that is lame. That is teaching and learning. As focus on the highest philosophical mind takes up more time, the initiative will wrestle with their intensified psycho-freemic mind, the influence of the heart, where the beast is identified, learning in effect to gain control of themselves in the process. It does not mean regular physical activity and relationship has no place in life. Without it, we would not be here to enjoy ascension. Therefore, the restriction placed on initiative is to help focus on the task at hand at the time of commitment, to understand the highest and noblest truth. This can, of course, be done through the normal course of life as well. It simply takes longer. In other words, the text of verse 5 is saying initiative will still be of a somewhat profane nature during the first half of their standardized initiation into divine philosophy. Verse 6, he opened his mouth to blaspheme God and to slander his name and his dwelling place and those who lived in heaven. Verse 7, he was given power to make war against the saints and to conquer them, and he was given authority over every tribe, people, language, and nation. Verse 8, all inhabitants of the earth will worship the beast, all whose name have not been written in the book of life belonging to the Lamb that was slain from the creation of the world. The archetype of creator opening his mouth to blaspheme and slander God's name by generating the hot and wrathful universe, is only a figure of speech, you see, to overemphasize the distinction between the lower and higher ideals. He was given power to make war. Is simply telling us again how the creative principle born from ascension generates a physical system that kills everyone in the end, even saints. No one can stand against the beast except the one who conquers death. Angels, in other words, those who ascend and die before they die, so that when they die, they do not die. And I've shared that with the verse, you must die, that is, die to your flesh, so to speak, within, in order to ascend eternally. And with that, this means that you do not reincarnate again. So the opportunity is now you are ascended, meaning you become an angel. And Phil points that out in his videos. Here we are. Let's see, here we are. The beast and his image are referring to a physical nature of the world and its attraction away from spiritual nature within. Those who are ascended know what is good above the obvious physical level. Their names are written in the book of life. They have made the light with God, in other words. The slain lamb is the light they make with God, who exists from the creation of the world and lives forever. He who was the creator is now the savior, is to come as the home of angels. The journey of redemption is suffered through our incarnations throughout the universe, created by the automatic product of spiritual union. By ascending, we redeem not only the act of creation by closing its loop in ourselves. You see this whole thing here. Let's see if I can show it to you real quick here. This symbol, as far as I can understand here, on the what we call the number 1, the magician, It's just this continuous deal of reincarnating. And that's just a one way of looking at it. There's more things the way of looking at it. But this is a way of saying simply is that it continues on. You continue to come back here and you reincarnate over and over again. See? And it's placed above, you'll notice, above his head. Okay, so it's not somewhere else, but this is where ascension takes place, is in the head, is in your head. You see. I'll see if I can find out my place here. So here we are. Yeah, he's talking about this is what we call a loop. That's what this is. It's a loop. So, in other words, we close by closing its loop in ourselves, but the divine child of creation itself, lifting him up as the Son of God, recognizing the higher mind over the lower. So, this is all to do with the head here. Verse 9, he who has an ear, let him hear. And if anyone is to go into captivity he will go. If anyone is to be killed with the sword he will be killed. This calls for patient endurance and faithfulness on the part of the saints. To have an ear is to have wisdom and intuition. In other words, to discern what is right or what is true, what is false. During the tribulation of incarnations, we will encounter a range of potential experiences depending on the level of ignorance we find ourselves in. That is, in each case. Our own cravings for the things of physical life is what brings us to its yoke. Yoke is being basically enslaved, where we suffered an automatic washing machine effect of throwing back at us what we put into it. Continue. Remain faithful to understanding and truth, and we will make it home. If we, on the other hand, let it get to us, we will create more karma for ourselves. That requires more reincarnations to work through and release due to generated unconsciously content. When we know and see the distinction between the constant, that is the robust and eternal nature of spirit, and the transit nature of the universe, it becomes easier to ride out these testing experiences, you see. So it's a different long view of life instead of a short perspective. More so because the distance of one's vision sees for miles with spiritual wisdom, far outstripping the shadow view of the physical world and its dead-end views. Verse 11, then I saw another beast coming out of the earth. He had 2 horns like a lamb, but he spoke like a dragon. Verse 12, he exercised all the authority of the first beast on his behalf and made the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast, whose fatal wound has been healed. Another quote, another beast coming from the earth is a pseudo lamb coming from the lowest, most physical, creative somatic center, the element earth, as carnal love instead of divine love, in forms such as unbalanced sentiment, emotional impulses, and irrational religious zeal. As a dual principle, he had 2 horns like a lamb and spoke like a dragon, the same source of uninspired traditional dogmatic religious convention and ethics as the lower phrenic, Phrenic mind, as a constellation near Aries and Taurus, sometimes pictured with 2 horns. Medusa, the Gorgon, whose head was cut off by Perseus and still turns all to stone. It also refers to as Satan's head. One of the most fantastic and unrealistic magical powers associated with Medusa was bringing fire down from heaven. The pseudo-lamb metaphorically draws fire down from the sky of the highest somatic center in its own intellectual limitations that manifests as all kinds of unbalanced disorders. Understanding truth takes for experiencing is point blank in ourselves, and that is done in silence when all the mind chatter has ceased. Verse 13, and he performed great and miraculous signs, even causing fire to come down from heaven to earth in full view of men. Verse 14, because of the signs he was given power to do on behalf of the first beast, he deceived the inhabitants of the earth. He ordered them to set up an image in honor of the beast who was wounded by the sword and yet lived. You wouldn't believe what the church teaches on this, okay? It's amazing. The signs he was given power to do is the fallacy that creation is ultimate reality and the highest level of intellectual achievement is the lower mind. The inhabitants of the earth, that is the universe, are initially deceived by physical nature into thinking there is nothing else as if spirituality has no place. So a lot of people think they're here. They're looking at the physical attribute. They're not even interested in the spiritual aspects at all. They don't even understand that there is a spirit within them. They don't understand that they actually come from spirit. They don't understand, in reality, who they are. You see, they are a child of God. You see, when they are spirit, but they're being tested here to find out the metal of who they are. And so that's why you incarnate here, to find out who you really are. But most don't know that, especially those who have not incarnated that much here, have no idea of that. So all they think is simply the physical, you see. Verse 15. He was given power to give breath to the image of the first beast so that it could speak and cause all who refuse to worship the image to be killed. Verse 16. He also forced everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on his right hand or on his forehead. You hear this. Oh, you hear this all over the place, folks. All over. Verse 17, so that no one could buy or sell unless he had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of his name. Those that do not carry the superstitions of the lower mind, that is, the ones that judge without making sure of facts, are often persecuted by those around them that discover their different point of view. His power is to give breath to the image of his first beast, the humanoid being, who speaks blasphemies and causes the death of others who disagree with their politic. War is normal on Earth, for instance, due to human nature lacking depth, compassion, and clear understanding. No one can operate on a planet in the cosmos without occupying a transit physical body marked for death. That cannot engage in the usual custom of trading with other demons, that is humanoids, without one, for obvious reason. This verse, then, is a simple statement about ordinary life. Until we find our own redemption and ascend our bit of the cosmos, our own physical body, that is, the highest physical nature has to offer is the lower mind, which in Greek is Phrem, Phrem, the gematria of which is 666. So you see, he's revealing that 666 right here is revealing the lower mind. That's what it's revealing. Okay. Verse 18, the calls for wisdom. If anyone has insight, let him calculate the number of the beast, or it is man's number. His number is 666. One important point made by Elaine Pagels, as many other scholars support, is that a portion of Revelation, if not all, might be taken as historical and may fit the first century the book was written in. For instance, the Emperor Nero is said to be the source and personification of the beast, whose number is 666. The letters in the emperor's name add up to 666, using the simple system of gematria. This contention is further supported by an older and simpler version of Revelations, which states the number of the beast as 616 instead. The Emperor Nero's name taken with or without a certain letter add up, using gematria to 616 and 666 respectively, depending on how we spell it. This is one of the main arguments to support a historical and prophetic interpretation of Revelations, containing it to the 1st century AD and the Roman occupation of the Holy Land. In the 1st century AD, it was common practice to the point of mimicking today's graffiti to account for characteristics by using the gematria of the name of the person in question. This accounts for the use of 666 or 616 as the name of the person who personifies the most beast-like characteristics, and the Emperor Nero certainly fit the bill at the time of the writing of Revelations. However, the text does not state the numbers attributed to any person in a historical sense, but the human body itself. It is man's number. In fact, there are many various methods of acquiring the number 66 from all sorts of sources, such as Vicarius Filii Dei, that is, the Vicar of Christ, as an example, but the contextual nature of each successive title fits the 666. Quotum may fall short or wobble to the side of the evil nature it represents. Numbers represent the archetype of existence and manifestation, applicable to both the physical, tangible world and the invisible intellectual world of philosophy. For instance, the number 9 refers to consciousness or spirit, meaning truth, and can be derived in any number of ways using geometry such as 6 plus 6 plus 6 equals 18, and then adding 1 plus 8 equals 9. Likewise, the 144 gives us 1 plus 4 plus 4, which also adds to 9. And yet 144 refers to the higher mind. That is, then here we have a word here, Lesous, meaning 888, not the lower mind of 666. In the context of geometry of some numbers in Revelation may be stated as effectively highlighting the nature of consciousness and how it can transfer from human to angelic. This, however, means using numerology on the resulting numbers of 666 or 616, not in their derivatives, and not all numbers in Revelations add up to 9. In the Greek mysteries, each aspect of the self that is associated with the chakras has associated geometry, stating with the conqueror being Nikon, Ho Nikon being 1000, intuitively wise epistemon, that is 999, the higher mind, Lesous, being 888, the cross, that is status, Stauros, being 777, the lower mind, that is he, Frem, being 666, desire, Ephraimina, being 555, the serpent's coil, being 444, incontinence, Radis and Licentius are both 333. Interesting, if we move the last letter, that is the N, being 50, represents the fish. John in the abyss from 666. Ephraim. We are left suggested with the light alone as creator and geometry of 616. The number 6 represents the highest of physical nature, just before spiritual nature takes over with the completion of 7. So 6 is the number of steps of the tree of life before the 7th, and God's reunification. 6 is the number of kingdoms made by the single creator devil, whose best creation is the sixth kingdom, the humanoid being. So he's revealing this simply is a lot of things here in this artwork he has here of the kingdoms. And also down here, again, talking about archons, the physical and the spiritual, with the 3 spiritual centers being at the top here, with the physical being the beast, and the red one simply is got a bad angle with the white. The red dragon, and the last one, the bottom here, your sexual organs, is called the false seer. And then this one here is the what is his name? The 7 heads, 10 horns in this particular picture with the archons. Comparing the 2 reflective worlds of the individual to the cosmos, that makes them the evil nature of 666 is everything that is physical, that is not spiritual, and may be derived by considering the reverse sense of unifying spirit 3 aspects with the 6 energy kingdoms of the creative principle as the beast alone, without the lamb of salvation. As a result, instead of the spiritual 111 or 1000 of God, we have the physical 666 of mankind under the beast. Early pagans like Pythagoras used geometric symbols and mathematic codes to record their knowledge and ideas. One of those is the magic square of the sun, which had 6 times 6 grid going back in antiquity to the Middle East. The rows, columns, and diagonals of the matrix add to 111. Each a triplet of metaphysics from which creation is a necessary evil. So he reveals here a couple things here. This is the last part of this particular recording. He has the macrocosm here and the microcosm. Lower mind, desire, and sensuality. And then here you can see that simply as this is a triangle or maybe even a pyramid. As you see this part being talking about ascension. And then this part here being, what is it talking about? I forgot this. It'll come to me. And this over here. I'm sorry, I'm moving around. You probably can't see it. My mind just sort of slipped. This is Yaldabaoth over here. And this I'm trying to figure out. So then down here is the magic squares of the sun that speaks of the last part of this chapter. So you have a magic square of the sun, and it all equals 1, 1, 1. But I'm trying to figure out how they come up with the 1 with the 3 6 squares on top. I don't know if they're coming down to the triangular or right across. I don't know. I have to ask Phil about that one. And the false prophet being the human here at the bottom. Okay. All right. That is the conclusion of this particular chapter in Phil's book. We're dealing with the book of Revelations. And this was dealing with chapter 13. And the next chapter we'll be dealing with is the Lamb and the 144,000, which will be chapter 14. Okay. Thank you for being here. And again, wish you a good evening. And you take care. We'll talk to you soon.